We're going to begin the joint meeting with the Franklin Common Council and the Franklin School Board. It is 6 o'clock. If you would, you stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moving into new business, it looks like Franklin Community Schools discussion, the demographic study.
Good evening.
Hi.
Thanks for hosting tonight. I thought I would go ahead and kick off this meeting with a little presentation about our enrollment. Dr. Susan Bredvig did a study for us just recently based on the 2020 census data and the new home starts that are planned over the next few years. So we did a little bit of a refresh, and this is a very condensed version of what she presented to us. So this first graph shows our enrollment over the last 10 or so years. We've been pretty steady up until fall of 2020. And, you know, some of that is due to COVID. And then she also pointed out that who's advancing the slides? Jane?
I am back here.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, please. So Dr. Bredvig explained that one of our issues with enrollment is we're graduating senior classes of 400, but then the replacement of kindergarten is at a lower amount, around 330 or so. So that net change in the negative is what's causing us to lose enrollment over time. And she predicted that that would be pretty consistent until the class of 2026 graduates, based on her research. Next slide, please. And this just reinforces that as well. So we lost 92, gained 41. The good news is we're retaining, we're just not replacing. So that was an interesting observation that she shared. Next slide. So this shows the new home starts that are on the table that I'm sure all of you know about. Above the line means they're far enough in the planning phase where she felt comfortable incorporating that into our forecast. Below the line, those numbers would probably be in our low forecast that you'll see in a couple slides. So those aren't as far along, but they are on the radar. And then she talks about the impact of residential construction. Existing homes result in 0.63 students per household. But new homes, for every 100 new homes, you can count on 110 school-age children. And that's because newer homes attract those new families with school-age children. So even though the census showed that the number of households increased over the last 10 years, the number of school-age children declined. And this shows our enrollment forecast over the next 10 years. So at this point in time, in the fall of 21, we were at 4,886 students, and she is forecasting, and this is her base forecast, which I'll explain in a second. She's forecasting an increase of about 800 students in the next 10 years. So this summary shows a base forecast, a high forecast, and a low forecast. We are kind of planning on that base forecast of about 800 student increase. The high forecast is more like 2,000 students. And then the low forecast actually has us decreasing. So again, we'll use the base forecasting in our planning, and if you would like a full report, a full slide deck of this, I'd be happy to share it. Any questions?
Don't have any. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. So it looks like next is redistrict boundaries. Dr. Clendenning.
Good evening, everyone. I first just want to say thank you for meeting with us again. COVID kind of disrupted some things, but we're back to a normal practice. And I know, speaking from the administration and the board, we enjoy this time to have a conversation about where we're headed and what we're doing in our school. One of the things that we've been doing, before COVID started, I had a superintendent's task force, and we looked at the strategic plan for 2020 to 2030. And one of the big items was looking at our growth and also kind of projecting out where we're going to need to think about adding space. Because you can see we are going to start to grow. Well, on this map, you're going to see our new boundary lines. And this was the first time since the 90s that we redrew boundary lines for our schools. And we had three key aspects that we wanted to take into consideration for the redistricting. One is the debt for the high school is coming off in 2027. So that's going to be pretty significant for our community. I think all of us probably still think of the high school as the new high school, but it's actually, it's been around a long time, and we're going to start seeing some of that debt fall off for the bonding. We're seeing some of the growth with the subdivisions, and on the map that you see are red areas. Those are the projected home starts for us that are new, as we were talking to the community in our strategic task force. And the third aspect was a federal law called Every Student Succeed Act that requires us to have equity in funding across all schools, and they look at Title I as that baseline, and that's where we look for our free and reduced status. And so we had to make sure that we are in compliance with that. And so as we looked at all three factors, we decided to redraw the lines. So you'll notice on the blue to the far left, that is the new Union boundary. One of the things that you'll see up in the top middle of Union on 135, that is projected to be 600 new homes. That's going to have a significant impact in that area. One of the things that Tina went on in the study, Dr. Brubig told us that about every home is 0.4 students. So if you just do the math, that's going to be about 240 more students in that area. And that's going to be pretty significant. So when you look at our land mass of 113 square miles for our school district, Union takes up a lot of that. But we needed to make sure that it met the other dynamics. Creekside is green, and Creekside was an area that actually had 600 kids in it. That's about where it is today, and we knew that we needed to bring that down below the 500 student threshold, and we were able to do that. But you can see there's going to be new home starts in that area as well. And then red is Northwood. Northwood was probably the district that actually had the most conversation for us as we was winding up the discussion. And it's because you'll notice the furthest southern boundary actually is the only way we could get Northwood School in its boundary because of where everything else is. So we had to continue to stretch and use the geographic areas of like the Main Street and the railroad and some of those places to capture Northwood. Northwood is going to be about the same size as Creekside next year, about 480 students each. Union is actually going to go up to over 150 students. They are at 126, 127 right now, so you're going to see an additional 24 to 30 students at Union. And Webb Elementary is in yellow. Webb is going to also see an increase in student population of about 30 students in the new boundary. And then purple is Needham Elementary. And you'll notice the Needham largest subdivision is going to go in there is the one right across the street from the Legends. So we need to create space, because what we didn't want to do is continue to see all of a sudden population growth and additional needs for our school, and that tax rate really becomes an important part. So the board and the admin team have really had an extended conversation about what that looks like. And so with the new boundary lines, we've created space for kids to move into. We did allow parents an opportunity to go back. If you were a third grader this year, wherever you are in third grade, you can go to that elementary school in fourth grade. Because we didn't feel like it was fair, especially for the Creekside students and some of those kids that were getting redistricted out of Needham, to go to 1 year of a new school and then the next year go to CBIS. So we allowed fourth graders to return to their school. We also told parents that, yes, feel free to submit an interdistrict transfer or out-district transfer, and we would consider that. I will tell you, we were able to accommodate most of them. Creekside, we were not able to accommodate because a lot of the parents did want to go back to that. And so Dr. Worrell and I have had a lot of conversations with parents regarding that. And then also we have out-of-district transfers. And one of the things that we made sure that took place was if you were an out-of-district student, that you didn't have more privilege or opportunity to go to a school that you wanted to go to than someone in district. And so Creekside, once again, was one of those schools that caused that. So we had to tell parents they could go to any other schools, but not Creekside. So it's worked out well. Transportation is the next thing as we look at that. The board has challenged us not to have rides, more than an hour on a bus, where you can look at some of these, and it's still going to be close. So if anybody wants to drive a bus, let me know. We are looking for people to help us. But these are the new boundary lines. I think I want to thank the community, and I think we were able to meet the goals that we set up. Create space, meet ESSA, and also allow for a future opportunity discussion as these new subdivisions come online. Anything else or any questions you have?
I just have a question.
Sure.
With the expected growth at Union, and of course with the school there,
Yep.
and I know there are a lot of people who love Union. I'm not saying that, a new one should be built. Or what are the plans for Union out there? Do you have one? And I know it's not an overnight thing.
Yep. No, we don't have any plans right now, but I will tell you that at the next board meeting, we are interviewing 3 architectural firms. And the partnership that we're looking to create is a long-term partnership to help us consider that option. And the board asked the firms to come in with some ideas about that. Because obviously, the capacity of Union Elementary is 200 students. Oh, it's actually 200 really adults, because it has to deal with the septic system that's out there. And so right now, I think the board's just looking for ideas. We don't have any set plans. Right now, they've not turned any dirt over to begin that subdivision. And so we'll see what happens. But, it's definitely one that we get to hear a lot of conversation about. And I know that, Becky is the board member representing Union. And so she probably gets a lot more conversation than some of the others around that. But there's no definite plans right now. We just want to be prepared when that does happen, that we're ready.
Sure.
Becky, anything else you want to add on that one, or?
No?
So we are having the architectural conversations next board meeting, and then in June, the board will make a recommendation and action item to select one of them.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Clendenning. Next up, we have the SRO program.
Good evening. I'm Jeff Sewell. I'm the Director of Operations, and the SRO program is one of my areas of responsibility, and it's an important partnership with the city that we continue to carry on, and wanted to just give you a quick report out on that. As you may know, the school corporation employs 2 SRO officers, and then Kirby and the mayor have agreed to assign 2 of their officers to bring us to a total of 4 SROs. And so that has been a really successful partnership. We've had just great engagement from those officers. This past year, we've had Officer Merritt served us through the first semester, really had a lot of great relationships established with him, a lot of great feedback from the elementaries that he worked with closely. Mary Helms, a long-term officer, SRO, working in our Custer Baker intermediate school. She just retired, and so she had a very long tenure with us and did a great job. And Officer Gentry, Chris Gentry, just started with us as a new assignment, and he's doing great. He has just been just taken off and is just doing a great job establishing relationships. And that's really what the program's about. It's continuing that partnership with the city, make sure we have good security in our schools, but just also having that good engagement between our law enforcement officers and students and giving them that positive role model in the schools as well as that security presence. I think long range, we'd really like, I know Kirby has trouble sometimes having enough positions to dedicate those 2 positions to us. I think long range, the school corporation would recommend that we try to own all 4 of those positions. Our funding just really doesn't allow that at this time, so we continue to appreciate that partnership with the city, and we are working that direction towards trying to eventually being able to fund that. We were successful this past year in our grant writing to get some funding to help the city with those SRO expenses, and we'll continue to work in that direction with looking for opportunities to help offset those costs. But definitely appreciate that, Chief Cochran and Mayor Barnett. It's been a great partnership, and we greatly appreciate it. Any questions about that? Short and sweet. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sewell. What's up next is Franklin Community School action items, Cub Care.
I apologize. I should have introduced myself. I know pretty much everybody, but my name's Tina Gross, and I'm the CFO at Franklin Community Schools. So I have the pleasure of proposing an additional partnership with the city. And this involves our before and after school care program. We run before school care starting at 6 a.m. in the morning, and then after school care until 6 p.m. at night. So this is required by the state. It's called Latchkey Program, and the school is required to provide at least the after-school portion of it. The last couple of school board meetings, Mrs. Betts and I have had presentations on the challenges that we've had in the past few years. One is leadership. We have assigned a stipend position to this, to the oversight of this program, and it really is a full-time job. A lot of buildings, a lot of staffing, so we're looking for strong leadership. And then staffing the program is also an issue. With the limitations under the Affordable Care Act, we can only employ these Cub Care workers for less than 30 hours a week. But an outside partner could potentially take some of our classroom assistants that are with these students all day and employ them in the after-school program as well. So we solicited some proposals, both from the Boys and Girls Club and an external partner. And Mrs. Betts and I are recommending that we partner with the Boys and Girls Club. They are very much in line with our priorities, which is to develop a safe and nurturing environment for kids. So I'm requesting that the board consider this action item this evening, and we've asked Natalie Fuller, the Executive Director of the Boys and Girls Club, to present tonight and answer any questions that you have. Natalie?
Thank you all. so much for letting me be here tonight. A lot of former board members are sitting here and in front of me, behind me. Matt Culp, one of my current board members, is here, so thank you, Matt. So yeah, thanks so much for the opportunity. A little bit about us. Most of you know who we are, but just in case, you know, our mission is to enable all young people, especially those who need us most, to reach their full potential as potential caring, responsible citizens, providing quality program here, right here in Johnson County. Our partners are, you know, obviously, our biggest one is the City of Franklin, and the Parks Department, as we are in the Wonder 5 Center, have been since 1983. That building is obviously owned by the city, managed by the Parks Department, and we are blessed to be in that facility every day. Franklin Community Schools has always been a great partner to us, providing transportation from all elementary schools except Union, Custer Baker Middle and High School. So that's how the kiddos get to us every day. We are a United Way agency. They fund our after-school program and help subsidize that to keep it affordable for families. Community Foundation, obviously, as all nonprofits in our community, is a big supporter. And then Franklin College, you know, have always provided us with work-study students. That's something that COVID and other challenges have kind of flipped on us, but we still have that partnership. It's not as big as it used to be, but our after-school employees are still all Franklin College students. We just pay them differently. I share our core values because it's something that's really important to us, and I know that's something that when I met with Tina and Robin that we really talked a lot about. This is something that we established in 2018 as a staff that we came together. I came on board in 2016. I came as a succession plan to Teresa McClure. Big shoes to fill. I spent a year and a half with her, and then I took over in 2018. So when I took over, this was the first thing we did as a staff is this is new, right? For those of you that know, Susan Som has been an employee of the Boys and Girls Club for 25 years. She is still there. She's never allowed to leave me. But other than that, I had a really new staff. And so taking her experience and taking all of us as new, what is it that we're going to do? We want to try new. We want to grow. We want to get outside the walls of the club. So we came up with these 4 things. And no matter what we did, whether it was crazy or strategic, it had to meet these 4 goals. And that was that it was always kid-centered, that we were always being supportive mentors, all of the relationships that we were doing were positive relationships, and we fostered an environment of constructive communication with our parents, with our partners, with our staff, that it was all constructive and that we were communicating. So everything that we've done, 2018, we hit the ground running and we really focused that this is what we were going to do. And we were making some really great strides, and then 2020 hit, and we won't talk about that. So who we currently serve. So our current after-school enrollment right now is 121. We average about 95 kids a day. Pre-COVID, our enrollment was 285, and we were averaging 225 a day. They're coming back. When COVID hit, we took out the middle school and high school to accommodate more elementary kids. Like everyone else, staffing has been a difficult thing this year, so that's kind of limited our numbers somewhat, as well as transportation. With the COVID rule of transportation, that only 1 bus slot was allowed, that pulled probably about 20 of our kids that would come to us 2 days a week and then went home the other 3. But because of COVID, that changed and you could only ride 1 bus. So those numbers will continue to grow, and we know that we'll get back to our numbers soon. Significant things for us, 35% of our kiddos come from a family that make less than $41,000 a year. 33% live in a single parent, grandparent, or guardianship setting. And 58% of our school kiddos do qualify for free and reduced lunch, which was a 12% increase from the year before. The 12% increase that's a shocking number. We started asking that question more specifically this year than we had in the past. And so I think some of that increase is because we actually specifically said, do you qualify, instead of our scholarship is the way we used to do it. So when we were approached by the school of, are you interested in Cub Care? It was, well, of course we are. If you want to go to the next slide, Tara. So these are the goals that we have established, the starting of our strategic plan for our growth. We changed our name officially in 2018 from the Boys and Girls Club of Franklin to the Boys and Girls Clubs of Johnson County, with the goal that we would grow. As I came on board and we started going out and talking about growth, and people were like, well, you're a Franklin. Like, why are you wanting to talk to us in Greenwood or Edinburgh? Well, we serve the whole county, and we always have, that name was a stopper for a lot of people. So we officially changed our name just kind of as an announcement. Here we are. We want to continue to grow in our current building. We love the Wonder 5 Center. We have a lot of exciting plans for the Wonder 5 Center in the future as well. But we also want to grow outside of our building, making our mark. Our goal is to be the premier provider of after-school program in our county. We think that we do a good job. We are program-based. Our focus is on teaching kids skills, teaching the academic skills, social skills, emotional skills, and being program-based, that we're having a positive impact on kids, and that then they're having a positive impact on our community. So it made sense when we were approached, would we be interested in this? We said absolutely. So we prepared a proposal and shared it with administration. And a few key things, if you want to go to the next slide, that we wanted to do specifically, if we take this over in the fall, is that it's a seamless transition, that parents, obviously, staff will know that we are taking over as managers, but other than that, there's not going to be a lot of hiccup. When the kids come in that first day of school in the fall, they're not going to really know different, except maybe the t-shirt the staff has on, that anything has changed for them. Transitions are difficult for kiddos. New school years are difficult for kiddos. And so we want to make it as seamless as possible. We are offering all employees that we will absorb them at their current rate of pay. We will provide them with the information that this is, but we're asking for their commitment now. If they can't commit to us now, we will have our different rate of pay. Love the school district. Y'all's rate of pays are really confusing. We're a little more black and white on how we pay. It's fine. So we have, so if they don't commit to us now, and then they decide in October they want to come in, then they will come in as new employees and not as part of that agreed, because some of the employees have been there a significant amount of time, do make more than the max of what we would pay a typical employee, but we want to keep everybody. Staffing's been an issue for y'all, it's been an issue for us, and we don't need to make it any worse than it already has been. We are keeping fees the same for next school year. We are raising the registration fee to help with a little bit of our admin costs on our end. Other than that, that rate of pay will stay the same for next school year. Frankly, our goal, if this becomes a long-term agreement, is to reduce that rate of pay. I have already been talking to different entities about how we can do that. Obviously, we are a nonprofit organization, and our money comes from donations and grants and other partners. And I have started to have those conversations that if this comes to fruition, what can we do? Because we would like to reduce it. That would be the goal. The number one thing we will do is training with the staff. That's our number one priority. As a part of Boys and Girls Club of America, we have a extensive opportunity with training and materials that they create that we have access to being a member organization. We utilize a lot of that. Miriam Savage, my assistant director who's here, also comes from a social work background and has a lot of experience in training with her master's in social work in trauma-informed care and working with kiddos that have behaviors. And so we do a lot of training on day-to-day interaction with kids, helping kids through emotions, behaviors, what have you, and we spend a significant amount of time training with the staff, and we will continue that. That will be part of what they do. And then it's just, serving as many kids in our community as we can. So I think I covered everything I needed to. Questions?
Do you mind me asking what kind of fee is charged for after-school care?
Sure. So at the Boys and Girls Club right now, it's $125 per semester to ride a bus from the school to the club. So they pay $250 a year to come to the Boys and Girls Club every day. Cub Care currently is $10 a day, and then they just pay a daily rate. We don't do that. You pay one fee whether you come once or you come 180 days. Our fees are different. But yeah, that's the fee structure.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, well, we're going to go ahead and vote on that. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Mr. Wertz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Wagner?
Yes.
Mrs. Nelson?
Yes.
And I vote yes. The motion passes. We look forward to working with you. Thank you so much.
So next on the agenda is a Franklin City Council discussion, an update on shared IT with Mr. Rick Littleton and Mr. Sprout.
Hello,
Hello, my name is Matt Sprout, Director of Technology for Franklin Community Schools. It's my privilege to work with Mr. Littleton here to address the city's needs. It's been a great collaboration. The collaboration on the city paying the school district for some of that allows our staff to stay supplemented and continue to work for us. At the same time, it allows us to take our employee count and supplement the city's count. So in one scenario here recently, we were able to combine our count and we lowered the price of a software application for the city for nearly $35,000 down to $12,000. So it continues to be a great collaboration. Once again, I'll brag on the IT team that I have, and to be able to share that resource. I'll let Mr. Littleton step in here and kind of talk about that collaboration a little bit on the technical side.
I just wanted to share, we will work on a number of projects together throughout the year. I just want to highlight a couple of examples of how we do that. This year, the city made a decision, at the end of last year actually, change our email platform, for example. Large undertaking, especially for myself, and fortunately I have Shelley Chesser at the police department and Kylie Martin at the fire department that could assist, but even for the three of us, a very large project. Hands-on, we've got to visit every employee's desk and computer, mobile devices and all. So thanks to Matt, and along with I think about 4 of his staff members, Matt and his 4 staff members were here that particular morning, 7 a.m. We geared up, and at 8 a.m. we divided and conquered. It was a long day, but we worked well together. We prepared in advance, and so we made that transition for the employees, hopefully as painless as possible. That's just one example. And then another one that you may or may not be aware of, and this one, thanks to Mayor Barnett and Clerk Treasurer Jane Rhodes, they set aside about $36,000 last year of CARES Act money, and we were able to then purchase equipment for both the school and the city. Some of that equipment is in use here in the room tonight. You are all being broadcast live right now on both the school's YouTube channel and the city's YouTube channel, but that equipment was purchased specifically for that purpose, and as a part of that purchase, there was additional equipment. It's presently up at the high school. We don't have the exact date, but we'll soon be making you TV stars as well. That equipment will be used to broadcast these meetings live on the PEG channels, both the Xfinity and Metronet public education and government channels. So again, we don't have the date for that yet. When we're ready to roll out the red carpet, we'll let you know. And just 2 examples I wanted to share with you. Thank you.
Thanks, Rick. Thanks, Matt. Next up, looks like Krista Linke, Community Development Director on tax increment financing.
All right. Hi, everybody. I'm Krista Linke. I'm the Community Development Director for the City of Franklin. Who is excited to talk about taxes?
It's coming.
I know you all. I will keep it short, I promise. I did actually do this presentation for Franklin Rotary, and hopefully it was informational. I won't take quite as long as I did for that presentation, because I think it was like 20 minutes. But I know a lot of you in your current roles probably hear TIF, and if you don't do it every day like I do it every day, you're probably, maybe you vaguely know what that means, and maybe you don't want to ask because you don't want to admit that you don't know, so I'm going to explain it to you. Tax increment financing is something that most municipalities use now to finance major projects. And so really it's the Redevelopment Commission, which I'm staff for as a Community Development Director, and this is kind of a list of projects that redevelopment commissions can do It's pretty varied, it's ever-changing, legislation every year changes what we're required to do. So there's a lot that goes into it. It's pretty flexible, honestly, but I think the main thing that people don't understand is that TIF dollars can't be used for things that general fund dollars can be used for. So if any of you are crazy enough to read like the City of Franklin chat, like I do, you know, you might see, well, why are we raising trash prices and putting in a roundabout? Well, we can't pay for trash with the money that we pay for a roundabout. You can't do that. There are different pots of money. And so I think it's really important that people understand those differences. Basically what happens when you create a TIF district is you have a base assessed value. So whatever typically a piece of farmland is valued at, because it's going to develop into something, that's that base assessed value. So maybe it's 5,000 an acre, 3,000 an acre, that kind of a thing. So that assessed value belongs to all of the shared taxing units. The schools, the library, the city, the county, they're all listed there for you. When something develops there, that increase in assessed value, so a building gets built and now it's worth $1 million, that significant increase then is captured in that tax increment district. And so for whatever set number of years that TIF district is established for, that gets captured and can be spent in that area. Or in our case, we have a map, and it's not the easiest to read, but we have an integrated TIF district. We have one on US 31, and we have kind of the older, more established industrial parts of town. And so money from the interchange can be spent in the Franklin Business Park or along any property that touches US 31. That's how we're paying for the US 31 redesign and the amphitheater project. Those can be spent, it's a little bit more flexible, but there's basically two major categories. And then after that TIF district expires, all of that project AV gets released back to all of those taxing units again. So why do we rely so heavily on TIF districts? Because when a new company comes to us, and they do all the time, you know, they're required to extend sewer or utilities, or if they're going to have 100 trucks a day, they need to put in a turn lane or upgrade the road that wasn't built for semi-trailers. It was built for, you know, farm tractors. Those kinds of things are required as properties develop. So they oftentimes want help with that. You know, they have their pro forma of their project, and they want, obviously, they're, you know, business people. They want to make the most money. And so they're looking for, maybe if they share that road with 3 other companies, they don't feel like they should have to pay for that whole road themselves. So that's kind of how the Redevelopment Commission gets involved. A roundabout serves an entire area, not just one property. Or a sewer main extension. We've got some going on both the west side and the east side of town this year. Those aren't just one user specific. Those are shared. And so TIF dollars help us do those things that otherwise those companies wouldn't come to Franklin. They wouldn't develop here. And so if we don't offer these incentives and we don't offer these infrastructure improvements, they'll go to another community that maybe already has a road in place or something like that. And so we're able to increase that assessed value by using these dollars that are captured. TIF is kind of a new thing too. I mean, it really only started in the 1950s in California. Don't hold that against it. And it's really exploded as a creative financing tool over the last 70 years. So we're not, Indiana's not special. Every state does this. I asked, how many TIF districts do you think there are in Franklin? Some people raised their hand, 3 or 4. We actually have 11. So there's quite a few of these. These are the names, the actual names of them. I won't go a whole lot into that. Here's a map. I mentioned earlier the US 31 district. So and this is a common misconception as well. The area where like Kroger is, and then the surrounding outlots, and then the area where Meijer is and the surrounding outlots to it, Those are actually allocation areas, which I think the terminology is completely backwards, but the state made that terminology, I didn't. So the allocation areas is where the increment is actually collected, okay? So all of the properties that have frontage on US 31 are not in a TIF district allocation area, they're in an economic development area. So the money that is collected in that north area and the south area can be spent in those areas, but also on any parcel or right-of-way that touches those areas in the US 31 corridor. We added in, I think it was 2018, 2019, we added that kind of the little Youngs Creek, if you see there at the bottom, right here. This is, kind of takes it into the downtown, and that is what allowed us to do what I think the mayor's going to talk about, the amphitheater project, and pay for the bond that is paying for building that. This is the other TIF allocation areas are highlighted in green, so that's where TIF dollars are collected. We have some new ones that are coming online that aren't even on this map yet, but they're not developed yet. The only one that is the GDI or the Interstate Warehouse. They were going to do some additions there that have kind of been put on hold by COVID, but that project is nearing completion. And some of these have been in existence since, I think the first one was established in 1992 in Franklin, and it was for Music Land on Commerce Drive, which is now, I don't remember, it's changed names so many times, Direct Shot or whatever it is. This is just a quick list of all the things that TIF dollars have paid for in Franklin. So there's kind of this test of, but for this development, this wouldn't have happened. And so all of these things are tied to projects, but they're also community projects that benefit the entire community. So all of this money has been invested in these projects, and it hasn't just raised the property value, assessed values in the allocation areas, it's raised all of the assessed values in the entire community. And so that's how we feel like at the Redevelopment Commission, we have a positive impact on, yes, we are retaining these dollars in these allocation areas, but we are helping to improve the assessed value of the entire community. It's hard to measure that. We did do a brief study on that a couple of years ago that showed like the I-65 interchange, kind of that commercial area where the Red Carpet Hotel used to be. That is not, there are no TIF dollars collected there. So all of that increased assessed value, which we use TIF dollars to redevelop and put in the bypass and the gateway, that was like, I think it was around $5 million of assessed value, and now it's $95 million of assessed value. So if we hadn't have made that investment using TIF dollars, that area would never have developed the way that it did. So it's a good investment. There's a list of projects, there's numbers. I'm happy to, and I'm also required by law to tell you every year the dollars that we collect, and thanks to Jane's help on this, she helps me with this every year. And this will be actually on your next city council agenda as a presentation. It will be very quick, I promise. But it tells you, like, these are the dollar amounts. I think some people think it's like millions and millions of dollars, and technically combined it all is, but we have two major bonds that we, it's kind of like the mortgage on your house. You have to repay those every year. So while we collect $765,000, we have a bond payment that only leaves us with $172,000 of excess for that US 31 district per year. That's not a lot of money. Same thing for that other integrated area. We have a bond that was done in 2015, so it'll be paid off in 2030. But our bond payment every year for that is $1.3 million, and so that leaves us $2.5 million a year approximately to do additional projects with as well. Sometimes TIF can be controversial. I think the other taxing entities, often you feel territorial. You want what's best for your unit, and you're doing good things, and everyone's doing good things. But I think what's really, really important to understand, the calculations for these, like Jane and I don't do these, Jeff Peters does these. The municipal consultants do these because there's tax levy calculations, there's property tax caps, there's referendums, there's rate-driven funds. And so if you have, like the example I have on the screen is if you have $75 million in a TIF district of assessed value, if you just said, okay, we're not doing this TIF district anymore and release that all back into just the general fund and taxing rate calculations, all those kinds of things, you would think, okay, well, then you would get that same dollar amount back to all those other taxing entities. But instead of $3.5 million, you would get $559,000. So it is not even close to being a dollar for dollar calculation. It doesn't calculate that way. Basically, it drives rates down, those kinds of things. If you'd like to listen to Jeff Peters' presentation that he does once a year on why that is, he can explain it better than I can. But it's just important to understand that is not a one-to-one ratio of we're collecting it in this area and we're taking it away from the other districts. It's simply just not, the numbers are not the same. And that's all I have. So, yes.
You said earlier on the east side of the interstate, it was $5 million, now it's $95 million. What was the TIF investment that got the $90 million return?
That is a little bit hard to calculate just because we did the Paris Drive, the roundabout. That was about $4 million. But then that gateway project from the interchange into town, it's kind of hard to break that into phases. That was a total project cost all the way through town of $20 million. But maybe in that area, I would say another $5 million or so. So probably $10 million-ish to get $95 million in assessed value.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Other questions?
As you know, we passed a referendum for the school in 2019, and one thing to remember that in the TIF allocation area is those companies actually participate in helping with the referendum.
Yeah.
So even though the TIF's already been allocated, you saw that graph go up.
Yeah.
They still have to pay, in our case, it's 23 cents per 100 for our referendum. So that's the one place where it does continue to benefit. As AV goes up, we get the benefit of that. So that's
Yeah.
another place where TIF, people don't realize it actually can have an impact on us in a very positive manner that we talk about.
And one really important thing that I forgot to mention too is in those allocation areas, we collect the increment on real property. We do not collect personal property. So like we're seeing like the Amazons and Energizer, they may have a $20 million building, but because of all the logistics in there and the conveyors, their assessed value on personal property is $60 million for that Energizer building. We don't collect any of that in that TIF area. So if we hadn't have put in Bartram Parkway and extended the sewers with TIF dollars, all of those other taxing entities wouldn't be sharing in those personal property tax increases. So it really, there is an immediate increase to the other taxing entities through the personal property taxes, just not the real property taxes. Thank you.
Thank you, Krista. Looks like Mayor Barnett's up next. Construction project update.
All right, good evening. Isn't this awesome to have the school board, city council meeting together? There is nowhere else, correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Clendenning, I don't think there's anywhere else in the state that does this. We've been doing it, I think, when Joe became mayor, we started doing this several years ago and kept it up. I'm just, the collaboration, like in the room with our SRO program, our IT program, Natalie here with the Boys and Girls Club, and I'm supposed to be talking about infrastructure, but I swear I won't be real long. So anyway, it's just amazing to me on how Franklin, the people seem to work together and enjoy it. And some communities that I get around the state, and I hear about cities don't get along with their school superintendents, and mayors don't get along with their clerk treasurers, and city councils arguing with the mayors. And I'm thinking, man, I'm awful lucky to be the mayor of this great city. So thank you all for that. And I will go right on talking about economic development. In 2021, our assessed value went up 8.3% to $1.1 billion. And I just want you to know, since 2017, that's a 34.48%, 34.5% increase. That's pretty remarkable. The housing, we all talked about the housing, and I think one thing that I learned last summer going through some of this, I believe a lot of people think that, you know, we have 6 subdivisions in the works. We have 3 multifamily in the works, and it was like people thought they were going to wake up and all this was going to happen today, tomorrow, and it's going to happen over time. And there is time to plan for the roads and plan for the school, and with what we've seen with about the 1,500 living units, it's probably going to be 5, 7, 10 years. It all depends on how the economy is. If the housing stays the way it is, and I think we're all watching this pretty close with the interest rates, I think it might naturally slow down a little bit. So Bluffs at Youngs Creek, 350 lots, Kingsbridge, Section 1, 150 lots, that's south of Knollwood. West Wind at Cumberland, 125 lots. They should be breaking ground on that pretty soon. The Winterfield, the one out across from the Legends that we're talking about, I know that's still in being talked about, and just my own opinion, I'll be surprised if that's breaking ground this year on that one. So maybe, maybe not. Homestead at Hillview, 66 lots. Eagles Landing, which is the Indiana Golf Academy property, that's 93 lots. Be surprised if that one breaks ground this year. Again, I hope I'm wrong. Newkirk Square, 25 townhomes. What an amazing project for the downtown, and talk about assessed values going up, and that's not going to be captured in any TIF as well. So that's going to be a nice project. Franklin Links out by the fire station, by the interstate, 160 units. That's going to be a nice addition. Founders Point on Upper Shelbyville Road, it's 192 units. That's also going to be a good project. But when they're going through the process, they went through the major boards to get approval, and they're now working with the planning department moving forward. There's a lot. Once you go to the city council and planning department, then you have to go through all the other boards and drainage, and that's what, it takes a long time. So what you see that's being under construction right now, US 31, south of Knollwood, that's assisted living, Astral. We have a lot of people thinking that that's an apartment complex. It's not. We try to get the word out, and it seems like Franklin Chat, which I'm off Facebook, thank God. Krista, you might already get off Facebook, by the way. So, yeah. So you watch Facebook, and it's all Section 8 or Section 42 housing, and it's not. It's assisted living. Also on US 31, I don't know if they started today, the Taco Bell's going to tear down and rebuild. I thought they were supposed to start today.
They did.
Okay.
I saw it, yeah.
Yeah, somebody probably face on, I'm not even going to say it. On US 31 and Simon Road, Brad's Car Wash, and there's, and you know, a lot of times we try to not say what's going to be there because sometimes it doesn't happen. Panera Bread is supposed to be going in there. I'm saying that because that's what I was told for 10 weeks now, and I don't know. I still haven't seen them. I mean, planning departments talked to them. So Hubler Ford, they're going to tear down their building, build a new facility, which would make that a lot nicer. Jim Black Road, the Peterson Development Corporation is getting ready to build a 700,000 square foot building. And then the 460 acres east of I-65, the Sunbeam Development Corporation, that's another one. We talk about the warehousing. That is going to be a long process. It's 5 to 10 years to build that out. And when we talk about the warehousing and people, we don't want warehouses. I get it. I understand. But whenever you look from the taxing end of it, each one of those buildings pay $500,000 to $1 million a year as they get through that process. And you really start seeing when they get a tenant after about the 4th, 5th year, you really see a big increase in tax revenue. So I'll go into, that's where we're at on what I see under construction now and the housing. This year, we got the Graham and Commerce roundabout. I want to talk about that just a little bit. You know, we tried to do all of our roundabouts, and we've been really good at this, planning when the school's out, start as soon as school gets out, and then when it open them back up when school starts. This year, I think there's going to be a little issue there, and Duke Energy has given us a heads up. The supply chain is holding them up on some gear that they need. So we may be held up about 30 days, but whenever that happens, it's still going to be a 60-day turnaround. So I will be suffering through it, and I hope all you guys will bear with me when that happens. So paving projects, we just received a $1 million community crossing grant. So I'm looking that we will probably be about $2.4 million on paving this year, touching right now I know of 18 city streets. And I'll just name 3 of those, and we can get you all the detail later. Mark hasn't quite bid it yet, but it was based off Commerce Drive is one of them that we're going to use some of it from 31 to Simon Road. We'll repave that. You can tell that road's coming apart. South Street here, just a few blocks from here, and Hospital Road. Hospital Road is one of those roads that a lot of people take to the school. So we're upgrading that area there. Jim Black Road, Phase 2 and 3, alley paving, West State Road 44 Trail. We've got one of the displays here about the trail and what we're trying to do with the trail. That is a grant that we got from NDOT, and it is connecting Creekside and Custer Baker. Also, Camelot's going to be tied to that with the 44 West State Road Trail. Hospital Road, we're also wanting to upgrade, and I think our city employees are going to work on that. We're wanting to upgrade the sidewalks and crosswalks, and that will also connect City View, Arbor Springs, and West Park to safely get those kids to school. So we're looking forward to that. And all these projects, they've been talked about for the last 3, 4, 5 years. So we're finally getting there. There will be more of the pedestrian crossings that you see where we hit the little flashing light and traffic is supposed to stop and people can safely walk by. It's getting better. I'm just amazed at the people that don't realize you're supposed to stop for pedestrians. The one's going to be at another one at Hospital Road, King and Middleton, and then right over here at the Jackson and the County Annex. You get a lot of complaints about the people trying to go to work and nobody will park for them or stop for them. Yandees Street, that is going to bid next week. That's a big project that we've been talking about for quite a while. We've bid it twice. The prices were too high for us to accept the bids. So we've got with the engineering firm, got with the MPO, who's funding most of it. We've revamped the bid, and we're going to try again May 5th, so let's hope we get it right this time. The Boys and Girls Club parking lot, and Natalie, this is good timing. I don't even know if you know this, but we're working to, let me first say that a lot of people don't know the city owns that building, leases it to the Boys and Girls Club for a year, or for $1 a year. We take care of the utilities and most of the maintenance, and we give $26,000 a year to the Boys and Girls Club. It's in our budget, and I think that just, again, demonstrates our community working together and helping where the help needs to be. But anyway, we're going to pave the parking lot this year, and also at Morgan Park, which is just right there across the creek from it. The basketball court and the tennis courts are falling apart, and we need to maintain our assets that we have. So we're looking to do that. And that leads me into, let's talk about 2023. The US 31 project is going to start. That is a $48 million project. NDOT, the city of Franklin, NDOT it's driven by them. The city of Franklin participated so we could have a seat at the table. We spent about $3.5 million to help to do the engineering for the project, which NDOT led the engineering way, the way they want the roads. but our participation was that this was the perfect opportunity for us to be at the table. And we've all talked about for years and years, we got to get pedestrian traffic safe on 31. It's a way for us to get the trails city limits to city limits. So that's how we got involved with that. If we decided we didn't want to spend the $3.5 million, we wouldn't have gotten the trails. We wouldn't have had a seat at the table, and the project would have probably got done without us. So I feel like that's a good investment on our dollars. Another thing, next year, which this leads into the Mayor's Youth Council. Next year, we got a roundabout at Simon and Commerce right at the school entryway. We all know that needs to be upgraded. It needs a roundabout, and I know there's been a few wrecks there of people not paying attention, so it's going to make it a lot safer. And whenever I say that's where the Mayor's Youth Council comes into play, let me first, I'm going to talk about the Mayor's Youth Council, and then we'll lead into that project that has to do with that roundabout that the Mayor's Youth Council is involved with. So in 2017, Sam Vanderveen, this is whenever our Joe McGinnis started the Mayor's Youth Council, and I think when Joe got it started, one of the things he asked me when he left office, he said, I'm not a guy to tell you how to run the city, because I know you'll do that pretty well. He said, I just ask that maybe you keep the Mayor's Youth Council. And absolutely. And I will tell you, it's been a joy for myself and Tara, and it's pretty important to the city, the Mayor's Youth Council, to get their input. And I just want to give you a little insight on what they've did over the years. 2017, Sam Vanderveen, that group, they created the new city flag that's up there behind us. And I will tell you, we actually found the people. I was in high school when that flag was made, 1974. Okay, so we found the people. We got them on board that said, yes, it's time to make a change. And that Mayor's Youth Council come up with the flag. And they also went to an AIM conference and met with other councils and collaborated. 2018, Jonathan Ott, Inclusive Playground. That was a huge deal. And why that was a huge deal, they did a lot of the fundraising for that. And matter of fact, they even carried that on through 2019. So 2008, and Jonathan was also the president in 2019. He's the first two-time president that we had. They did a water bottle fountain program at the school. And then in 2020, Dylan Clark, they did painted electric boxes, the Active Adult Center. They went and put in new carpet and worked with the people at the Active Adult Center. That was a pretty useful. The people there, it was amazing just to watch and how they appreciated working with the kids. Last year, Jenna Newton, she was the president. They did the Safe Haven Baby Box, and they come up with the Mayor's Youth Council logo. And then this year, Liam Clark, he's here. Liam, would you come up here a little bit? So he's our president this year, and I'll let Liam tell you what their project is this year. And back to the roundabout part, I'll let him tell you about that. And then there is a process that I'm not sure they know they have to do yet, but we're gonna talk about that one. So, Liam Clark.
Yeah, like he said, I'm Liam Clark. This year, for the Mayor's Youth Council, we started out the year, we did an Afghan refugee program. So we did a donations drive. We collected donations from like multiple different locations at the high school. We did some of the Parks and Rec, I think a few churches. And we brought those down to the refugees, and there was a big warehouse, and they processed them. And then we partnered with Tyson Burris at Internet Communications, and we helped talk to businesses, and we're going to get public Wi-Fi downtown, which ties into the amphitheater project. So hopefully it'll be there by the time the amphitheater is there, so people can know. And they started, I think, this week. Is that what you're saying? Yeah, they started this week on putting that on buildings. And like you said, we're working on current design for the centerpiece for the roundabout that's going in front of the high school. And A House, principal at the high school, approached us and said that he'd like us to come up with the idea for that. And we turned to other students. We made a form for them to fill out with their ideas for the design, and we opened that up to middle school and high school students for something for the design that would represent Franklin schools or Franklin in general. And I'm not sure what the other piece of work we have to do is, but I'm sure we'll get that done next year.
So this is going to be a project that they will carry over into next year, and it's a good project. But that process that, going to, they do the design, they take it, they're going to go present it to the Creative Council, or not the Creative Council, our Arts District Council. They're going to present it to that, get their blessing, see if they have any suggestions. And then once they go through that process, then it comes to the Board of Works, where they have to get final approval. And then they have to figure out how you're going to help us fund it. So, so good luck next year, Liam. but no, the Mayor's Youth Council, it is the future of our city, and we want them to be, we want our youth to be involved. And it just dawned on me while I'm talking here, I didn't even mention the amphitheater. So I'm going to mention that, and then I'm going to sit down. The amphitheater is going to open up May the 20th, and it does look like it may look like to you that it's not on schedule. I know I seen Sean down there today looking around, and I thought he was going to crack the whip. I was hoping so. But anyway, I think it's going to be, it looks like it's on schedule. It looks like that they're probably going to be right at the last minute, but I feel pretty confident that we're probably going to be able to have that May 20th function. Looking forward to it. We're going to have 5 ribbon cuttings that day for different sponsors that's there. So that's going to be a long day on Friday the 20th, and then the 21st is going to be another evening that is going to be opened up. So we're looking forward to that. Franklin's moving forward, and it's only moving forward because we have great people in this city, and if it wasn't for the people, we wouldn't be anybody. So thank you. Is there any questions? Man, that was easy. Are you sure? Everybody wants to go home. Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Clendenning, is there anything you'd like to add this evening before we stop?
Just real briefly, I just want to say thank you for coming out. And the mayor's right. As we do this together, there are not many that do it. I'm not aware of anyone else. I know that when I was in Goshen many years ago, they were doing it, but I'm not sure where they're on that journey right now. But this is a special place where the school and the city do partner together to make it a great place for kids, a great place for families. And, I'm very, very biased. My 4 boys graduated from here, and they're doing okay, and it's because of the heritage and the things that are happening here. And I know that the board has kids that have traveled through here or will travel through here, and you have members. And I just want to highlight one. Ian probably won't brag about her son, but he's one of our National Merit finalists. And this year we set a record to have 3 National Merit finalists, and that's exciting for us. And so you can live here and know that the sky's the limit. So I want to say thank you for what you're doing to make that happen. And on behalf of the board, we appreciate this opportunity to engage in the conversation. And even though it's our time to host, we appreciate you allowing us to come down here and be a part of that.
I was looking forward to your auditorium again.
Yeah, that'll come back, we promise.
Okay, Mayor.
It was just brought to my attention that it was inadvertently left off of the agenda about public comments, and there's somebody in the room that wants to.
Okay. I want to open up to the public. Anyone in the public like to say something?
Mr. Austin, you almost didn't let me talk last year.
I am so sorry. Shame on me. Well, my daughter graduated from Webb, so I better settle down here.
Okay, a lot of you know me. I'm Barb Jankowski. My granddaughters go to school in Franklin, Indiana. One's at CBIS, and the other is starting or finishing her first year of Cub Academy, and we'll be going to Webb. Originally, we were going to go to Northwood, but with the redistricting, 2.0, 3.0, 5.0, yes, we are going back to Webb. Thank you. I don't know if you remember last year when I talked to the combined boards. I talked about what I tried to do to help the school and the students in Franklin and the families in Franklin. And I talked about a lot of things. I talked about reaching out to somebody in the Colts organization And I finally made a new friend, Matt Taylor, Franklin College alumni. And Matt and I became friends on Twitter. And so we were able to get a donation of backpacks and supplies from Indiana Members Credit Union to share with all the schools in the district. We were able to send a box truck full of supplies to Webb again last August. Mr. Austin, we might need your help this year, because I know you said you'd help me last year. But Winters Heating and Cooling, a Franklin business, did help us bring the supplies from Indianapolis to Franklin. We talked about providing free meals for the students. I did reach out to several of our representatives and senators, and fortunately or unfortunately, only one person replied to me, Andre Carson. And he said that he was going to sponsor or co-sponsor the Universal School Meals Program Act of 2021, a bill that would make breakfast and lunches free for all students. Now, you know, I had a few things going on. Christmas came. I fell and fractured my pelvis. So I didn't get back with Andre yet. But if you know any of your cohorts in the federal government, you know, where are we on that? Kids shouldn't have to worry about coming to school and not getting a meal. You know, there are some people in Franklin that maybe don't qualify for free lunches, but just don't have that money for the kids to get a lunch. Leanne Dorflin from the Daily Journal did an article on what we're trying to do. Jenny Renovich from Channel 13 came to my house and came to Webb Elementary to share with the viewership what we're trying to do here in Franklin. And Jenny coined it Mimi's Mission. So I'm not only the grandmother of Webb, I am Mimi of Mimi's Mission. We did a GoFundMe to try to raise funds for the book fairs in the school. We raised $300, not a lot, but we shared it with the different buildings in the district. And Mimi's Mission is trying to create a 501c3. So if any of you know anybody that can help me do that.
I got you, Mimi. Afterwards,
you.
let's chat.
Thank
Me and you,
you.
I got you.
Thank you, but.
Mr. Rawson can pay for the legal fees. Oh, my God. Make up for what he's done.
But you know, I do this, and I want others in our community to worry about our kids, to care about our students in our school. You know, they're going to be the ones that are going to be sitting up here. They're the ones that are going to be our mayors, our police chiefs. We have to make sure they have a good education. We have to make sure they want to come to school. And they can't come to school excited if they don't have the tools and supplies to do it. So thank you for letting me extend the time of your meeting again. And if there's any ideas, anybody that wants to help me, please let me know.
Make sure you get with me before you leave. I've got my business card
Okay,
with my cell numbers, personal and email, so you can contact me anytime.
thank you.
I'd be glad to help. Anyone else in the public would like to speak, please?
My name is Jason Scott. I have 4 kids that go to the school system here. They live with their mother. I actually live in Greenwood. Family situations occurred that separated us, and we're actually working on trying to get back together. We're trying to find a home in Franklin so our kids do not have to relocate, especially with the requirements with 2 of my kids now in high school and all that stuff from the state. But you need to get the ball rolling to get the housing market open, more houses available. If you want to keep kids here, especially with the redistricting requirements now restricting some of the movement from out of situation, I will tell you that the houses just in Whiteland are about $50,000 to $100,000 cheaper, but that would require some issues with transportation for my kids if I was to live there. Not to mention also a requirement to request if my kids can come here. Fortunately, my kids are at CBIS, the high school and the middle school. But for the kids younger, parents that want to come here, they're not going to wait 5 years. If you want to keep your system going, keep your city going and growing, you need to get those in the pipeline quicker. That's all I'm asking. Thank you.
Thank you. Tara, you have anything to add? Nothing? Krista? Police chief? Fire chief? Okay. Mark? Okay. Anyone on the council would like to say anything? Any comments?
No, thank you.
Add anything? Well, thank you very much for attending and coming, and hopefully it wasn't too painful with me being up here. So, well, it was a little bit painful. But anyway, I'll call it. Thank you.